Welcome back again to our video series on the Stepwise approach. My name is Dr. Patel and I am a Drug Information Specialist and faculty with the UIC Drug Information Group. Here are the 7 steps of the Stepwise approach we started to discuss in the last video. The focus of this video will be to review step 4 of the Stepwise approach. The goal of this step of the Stepwise approach is to develop your search strategy. In order to do this, you will need to understand the systematic search. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the components of a systematic search, which involves the use of 3 types of resources: tertiary, secondary, and primary resources. You are also probably wondering if you have to go through all of these types of resources for every single question. First, let's discuss the utility of each of the resources to help you understand how to select and prioritize the use of these resources to increase your probability of locating the desired information in an efficient manner. This pyramid is a good way to think about the level of information. Tertiary resources provide you with the broadest level of information. Secondary resources allow you to search for primary resources, which is the narrowest, most detailed information you will find. If you are unsure of the response, you want to start broadly with tertiary resources and narrow down your search into the primary resources if necessary. If it is a more factual question or a question you have some experience with, you do not have to go through all 3 types of resources to formulate your response. For example, if it is a drug interaction question and you found good information in 3 different tertiary resources, you don't have to go through secondary and primary resources. You need to be efficient with your time. Tertiary resources are a compilation of data found in the literature. Often they come in the form of textbooks, package inserts, databases such as UpToDate and Dynamed. Tertiary resources are also easy to access and use. Note that not all of the tertiary resources may be up to date, especially if it is a printed textbook. In addition, tertiary resources may not contain very specific detail if the question is asked with a narrow focus. Tertiary resources will provide general information on a topic, and you can even use specialty resources. These resources are covered in the in-class lectures. Overall, tertiary resources will give you the most bang for your buck, since someone has already done most of the legwork for you in compiling and summarizing the primary literature. However, there are a few key points to remember regarding tertiary resources. Sometimes you will find conflicting information in tertiary resources. In such a situation, you should look at multiple tertiary resources to determine what the overall consensus is regarding the topic. This often happens when evaluating 2 drugs for drug interactions. Depending on the type of tertiary resources you are utilizing, for example, a textbook versus a website, the resource may not reference the statements made within the document. In this situation, you should make a good effort to identify alternative resources which reference the information provided. If, however, there is very limited information available, which does happen sometimes, you should let the requester know where you found the information and that despite a considerable amount of effort, you are unable to verify the statements within that resource with other resources. That being said, the general rule of thumb is to always check at minimum 3 resources to ensure that the information you are providing to the requester is accurate. Often when students first start out responding to drug information requests, or an experienced practitioner is faced with looking up a response to a question to which they are very unfamiliar, they become overwhelmed with the amount of information that is available. So in addition to the remainder of the steps you learn in the next video, use your critical thinking skills and select and provide only the information that is pertinent to the question being asked. After you have searched tertiary resources, you can further investigate your question by using secondary resources, which are indexing and abstracting systems and various databases. The advantages of secondary resources are that they guide you to the appropriate primary resources by providing citations and abstracts. However, they do require some skills for performing searches. You also have to consider the number and type of journals indexed, and some databases may even require a subscription. Last is the primary resources, which consist of clinical trials, case reports, and letters to the editor. The advantages of utilizing primary resources are that it is the most current and detailed information available, and the information is there for you to evaluate. The disadvantage is that the articles may be too narrow in scope and it may be time-consuming, especially if that article has additional appendices. Additionally, primary resources require background knowledge and skills in drug literature evaluation to read and understand. Oftentimes, the pharmaceutical industry is a great place to turn to for specific product information. Product availability is important, especially in a drug shortage. You want to get updates on when the product will be available again, or for inactive ingredients if the patient has a specific allergy to a dye or gluten. The manufacturer may be able to provide additional information. For product stability, you may be in a situation where the medication was left out of the fridge over the weekend. The manufacturers may have extended stability data to let you know if it is still okay to use the product. For product administration, if not in the package insert, you can ask whether a medication can be crushed or made into a liquid compound. They may also provide reports of unreported drug interaction or adverse events, since they are required to do post-marketing surveillance. Overall, you need to be systematic, efficient, and thorough in your search for data. Again, I want to emphasize that you do not need to look at all 3 types of resources for every single question, because if you can find the information you need in the tertiary resources, then you can stop there. However, if there is no information or not enough detail in the tertiary resources, you should move on to specialty tertiary resources and then do a literature search to find more information.